today we're going to talk about the constant of proportionality. You should be on student handout too, so make sure you have that out. And so we're going to review. So two quantities are proportional if the ratio between the quantities is equal. So like we said before, a simple example would be the boys to girls. So if we had 6 girls to 9 boys, if we wanted it to be proportional, we could either multiply or divide by the same number. So we could double everything and we could say 12 girls to 18 boys. So that's when two quantities are proportional. The ratios are equivalent or equal. Okay, so the first question says, Mario travels 180 miles in 2.5 hours, or 2.5 hours. If Mario travels at the same rate, so the same rate, how far can Mario travel in 5 hours? So using that info about Mario's rate, complete the table below. So I want you to pause the video right now and try to do it yourself. And then I'm going to continue to do it. So the way I do it, you remember we can use a calculator. So I read this and I say 180 miles in 2.5 hours. I always start out writing the rate just so I can see it as a fraction, because once you have it as a fraction, you know that you can just divide to get that per hour, that unit rate. Okay, so the information they give us, we can fill in 180 here. Okay, and there's lots of ways you can fill out this table. So one of the ways you can see is that you can see how many times to get from 2.5 to 5 is, and you can see that they're doubling that. So then you would double this number and you would get 360. And again, you can be using your calculator. And if you couldn't see that that was doubled, you could do 5 divided by 2.5, and that would give you 2, and then you would see that it's times by 2. But you have to be careful because that doesn't mean that it's doubled from here to here again. They might put numbers in here to confuse you. Okay, but it's not about adding or subtracting. It's about multiplying or dividing. Okay, and so then you can see how many times 5 times what gets you to here. Okay, from here to here, they're doubling. So from 5 to 10, it's times by 2. So then you could take this number and times by 2 to get this number, which is 720. Okay, there's lots of ways you can do it. Okay, had someone come in and interrupt me. Okay, and then another way you can do it is you can take the 180 over here and divide that by 2.5, which will get you your unit rate per hour. And then you can take that amount times 7.5, and that will give you 540. Okay. And then when you get this answer, you're going to get 900. So go ahead and see if you've gotten those. So how many miles does Mario travel in 1 hour? So basically, I just explained that to you, that if you do 180 and then you divide it by your 2.5, that will give you 72 miles per hour. That is your unit rate per hour. So then you could literally take all these numbers and times it by 72. So if I wanted to say, how far does he drive in 15 hours? You would take 15 times your unit rate of 72, and that would give you how many miles you can go in 15 hours. So what is the constant of proportionality? Basically, it is just your unit rate. It's the value of the ratio of two proportional quantities. So that kind of sounds confusing. It's represented by this equation. Don't ask me why, but they use the letter K equals, and then you do y divided by x. You always do the y first, y divided by x. So like on a table or chart, your y values are, on your graph. These are your y's. And then your x is right here on the x-axis. It's also in a table. This would be your x, and this would be your y. So on these, we did y divided by x, and that's what got us our unit rate, or our constant. Oh boy, what'd I do? Okay, so you're going to examine the table below and describe if the patterns are true. And this is probably weird because you already know 12 feet or 12 inches are in 1 foot. Okay, so but we want you to do this. We want you to do y divided by x. So we want you to actually do 12 divided by 1, which is 12. And then we want you to do 24 divided by 2, which is 12. 36 divided by 3. And you should get 12 every time, and you can use a calculator. Okay, so what they're asking is the number of inches in a foot proportional? And then how do you know? Yes, it is, because every time y divided by x equals 12. So the constant is always 12. And then it says using x, the number of feet, how do you find y, the number of inches? So if I gave you x, like if I said the feet is 10, how would you find the number of inches? You would times by the constant. And that would be 120. So on the back side of that page, we have the K is the constant. I'm having difficulty here. The X is whatever your X is, and your Y is your Y for that equation that we wrote on the other side. We always do Y divided by X. Always, always, always. Y divided by X. So I would like you to fill out the rest of this and then bring it back tomorrow, and we'll talk about it right away. So remember, this is your X and this is your Y. Same with here, X and Y. It's always Y divided by X. And we will go over this first thing right away.